Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Changing the Questions, the show where we take one question each week and put it under the microscope. It's not bad, right?
I suppose.
I think we've done that before. My name is
Too
Paul.
much science.
Joining me as always, what are we, Republicans on
Science,
the show?
but no. That's not cool.
As always,
I'm
is
disgusted.
my co-host, Mike Miner. Miner, how you doing?
I'm disgusted now.
Okay,
Thanks.
well,
you mentioned
that's
Republicans.
good.
I'm sorry,
I'm
guys.
glad I've got you disgusted because some people consider the thing that we will be talking about today disgusting, and that is that we will be discussing, and that is, should Deathmatch Wrestling be considered wrestling? Now, for the purposes of this discussion, this disgusting discussion, we are going to consider Deathmatch Wrestling things like what they do in CZW with the Tournament of Death and the Cage of Death,
quick
Big
question.
Japan Pro Wrestling,
Can
IW itself.
we throw Donald Trump and Ted Cruz into a death match? Can we make that happen? Never mind. Go on. I'm sorry. I'm going to let that go.
All right. So,
sorry, guys.
There's since these forms of professional wrestling have been around, there has been a discussion as to there's half of the community thinks this is just as viable a form of professional wrestling as anything else, and then there's another half that thinks that this is garbage, hence the name garbage wrestling.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be considered wrestling and shouldn't be done at all. And there has never been a consensus between those two sides. Still to this day, deathmatch wrestling is maybe not as prevalent as it was in the mid-90s, but it certainly still exists, and it's still prominent in certain places. There are still a lot of wrestlers like Jun Kasai, Masada, Madman Pondo, who still make their name off of deathmatch wrestling.
I must stick my finger in the air for a moment, because I will talk about, at this time, the revival of FMW in Japan. They had a recent revival. I'm not sure what they're doing at the moment. I haven't kept up on them, but I know they have been revived.
And of course, FMW made a name for itself for being a very violent promotion. Of course, ECW did, although by comparison to what's been done in other places, it's very tame.
I mean, they did have barbed wire matches, so
you still have
some fire.
Yeah, you still have IWS doing their thing up in Canada. So there are places where this is still very popular, and not only that, but it seems like there are new and interesting things that are being introduced into it every day. I'm not sure if you were here when I was showing my friends the gusset plate trend.
I don't even want to see that.
So there are
there are certain
things that are being used. Oh, and of course, Drake from the NXT ref. Who is Drake Younger?
Yes.
Who also made his name as a
deathmatch
wrestler. I watched a video of him the other day in a syringe death match.
Yeah.
So there
you want to see some Saw stuff? There you go.
Yeah. So it's still a very prominent subculture of professional wrestling, but the question is, should it be? Should it even be something that's even viewed as wrestling? Should the people who do it be viewed as professional wrestlers?
Well, it's tough for me to say Ambrose here, but
Jon Moxley is another great example. I didn't even think about that. He is somebody who made his name.
That's why I made that crack.
Yeah.
So
in deathmatch wrestling, you're absolutely right.
And it worked out well for him. But I wouldn't say it's exactly for the deathmatch stuff. But
But that's how he made a name for himself.
That's him exhibiting his toughness, and I get that. He sacrificed himself, and
it's how he got noticed.
He knew how to work too.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. He knew how to work, because you could take any old schmuck and say, "Here, take this light tube, hit this guy with it, and you're a wrestler now." But it doesn't work that way. You need to be trained. You need to be able to work. And garbage wrestling. I have a very, very I'm so back and forth on it. I'd say it's had its day, mainly because the organizations that probably did it best, FMW and ECW, they didn't do it all the time. They didn't primarily base their organizations around. I mean, to a point, they kind of revolved themselves around it. But when they did something, it meant something. When ECW had a barbed wire match, it meant something. When FMW had a King of the Deathmatch tournament, it was something that was done once in a while. It meant something. Electrified Steel Cage, it meant something. Taipei Deathmatch. How many of those did you see in ECW? You weren't seeing them every week. You've seen one.
Yeah, I believe that there was only the one between the runs.
I mean, you look at WWE. You got a TLC event every year. You got a Money in the Bank event every year. Hell in a Cell once a year. I mean, sometimes it's overdone. Stuff like that's overdone. But as far as those organizations go, you had stuff once in a while. It wasn't all the time.
But do you consider it...
It was
people who do that as their primary form of wrestling, do you consider them professional wrestlers?
If they can work, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Besides the deathmatch element, if they can work, yes. I do consider them professional wrestlers, but if you're going to go out there and, tear your body apart for the sake of, horrifying the audience and getting attention, it's not exactly wrestling. I mean... One of my favorite wrestlers in the world and personalities, Mick Foley. The guy could work if he wanted to, and he did work. He elicited sympathy from the crowd, and he took nasty bumps. He took all sorts of punishment. He's bled more than I care to admit. He's been set on fire. God, the guy could work, though. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He knew how to elicit that sympathy from the crowd, but at the same time, he got his brains rattled for it, and he was basically
retired early.
He was retired in his early 30s. I'm almost at his age when he retired, and that blows my mind. The guy looked like he was in his mid 40s by that point.
Yeah, good point.
Mid 40s, maybe he walked around like a 65-year-old man who had back problems. So I mean.
I think on this one, you and I aren't too far from each other.
I just think it had its place, and if it's, if the organization revolves around this kind of style, no. I mean, it's you got to have something that leads up to it, and you can't just go all willy-nilly with it and then, expect people to... Some people like that, and I just... There's too much today. Blood, disease, injury... It's a different world.
Yeah, and I agree with all those things. And for safety purposes, on a big stage, I don't want to see wrestling matches like that. I have no desire to see barbed wire on WrestleMania. I don't have any motivation to see those sort of things on a big stage. However, I think to say that stuff should be looked down upon or not considered actual wrestling, I don't think is fair. You made the point of, well, if they can work, then they should be considered workers. And for the most part, most people who specialize in deathmatch wrestling are trained wrestlers, and they can wrestle. And they can wrestle at least competently, not excellently sometimes, but they can wrestle well.
Necro Butcher.
Yeah, Necro Butcher, John Moxley, previously mentioned. Even guys like Jun Kasai, like Masada. Those guys, a lot of them started off just wrestling in the conventional way, and then found that this was something that kind of upped their value on the independent scene, that they would be willing to do these things. As a matter of fact, if you go back and this is the second change of the questions where we reference Table for Three, go back and listen.
About Ambrose, aren't you?
Yeah, when Ambrose and Kevin Owens and I forgot the third guy.
Was it Cesaro?
Cesaro. When Ambrose was talking about how negotiating with people and what he'd be willing to do.
Okay, I'll do tables for this much. I'll do fire for this much. I'll do both for this much.
Yeah, exactly. He was using his body as a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
There's there is a value in that for the wrestlers, and to say that you can't do that and you're taking that away from them, I don't think is a good thing. However, another thing about it is, like you said, it's not necessarily my cup of tea. I don't watch the Tournament of Death. I don't go out of my way to watch it. I will watch things every once in a great while.
Yeah.
If I hear about something that was particularly interesting or good, not even necessarily like gruesome or violent, because I'm not a big gore sort of guy. But for me,
you've seen your share live, so
I know I have. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not like, I don't really go seek it out, and I'm not like, it's not one of those things that really gets me going.
It's like a primal thing, It's like a guttural thing that people want to see.
But for me,
and
the guys who do that sort of thing, to shit on them is akin to me shitting on somebody like my co-host here who is covered in tattoos completely. Like, to me, that is just kind of a form of expression and kind of performance art that these people are doing. Like, we've seen not just, like I said, you see people not just with tattoos, but with body modifications or piercings or like fetish shows.
Scarification.
Scarification. People are hanging themselves from hooks.
Look, these guys are just doing a different form of scarification.
Right. So it's a thing where, for the people who want to see it, I'm not going to belittle their thing that they're enjoying, and I'm not going to belittle the people that are doing it.
It has its place.
It's well, like I said, it's a thing that it has its niche. If you like it, go watch it. If you don't, fine. But I genuinely don't think that the existence of deathmatch wrestling hurts wrestling in any sort of way. Like, there's a lot of people that say it kind of cheapens the art form because anybody can do it. Bullshit. Okay, go smash a light tube over your face right now. Like, you're okay, don't do that because you'll sue us.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you were to tell a random person on the street, hey, dude, go jump into a box full of light tubes.
Let me throw you this tank of piranhas.
Even if you
ever go into a landmine death match?
Even if the guy agreed to it, when it comes time for him to do it, he's probably not going to do it. It takes a certain amount of courage to do it in the first place, and also knowledge and technique to do as little damage to your body as possible.
I just remember the tank of lobsters.
It's I'll tell. Do you want me to tell that story?
Yeah,
quick?
Go ahead.
All right. So this was I think this was a King of the Deathmatch tournament from I think 2000s. I want to say like 7 or 8. And it was Spider Nate Webb versus Necro Butcher, and it was the finals of the death match. And the way it was is each of these death matches had different stipulations, and they were like glass and barbed wire and stuff. Well, the final one was a lobster death match. Okay, so the idea was that in each of their corners, the guys had a live lobster that they could use against their opponents. Right, in the course of the match, okay? So they get to the lobster death match, Spider Nate Webb and Necro Butcher, and by the time the match starts and they're ready to pull the lobster out of the fucking styrofoam cooler that they're in, they're dead. The lobsters have died, right? So they're still trying to think of a way to use these lobsters as weapons, these dead-ass lobsters that...
It is a death match.
Yes, exactly. The lobsters were the ones that perished. And I remember, like, Nate Webb, like, taking and, like, double hand overhanding the lobster into, like, Necro Butcher's head, and then the lobster just cracks open, and then just, like, lobster juice just, like, sprays out all over the place. So it was just... And that is kind of another thing of deathmatch wrestling, is that at certain times it can be, like, inherently funny. Like, when I was working in IWS... there was the Christmas death match that they would do, where there was like a Christmas tree put up in the corner, and Beef Wellington, who was a Jewish wrestler, came out with a giant cardboard and construction paper dreidel filled with thumbtacks. Like, you can do funny stuff. It can be just like regular professional wrestling. It can.
Now, did they use bulbs on a tree?
Yes.
There you go.
They use bulbs and trees. They use Legos, which is a pain in the which hurts.
I'd rather take the bulbs.
Yeah. Popcorn, thumbtacks, all, yeah. So they used a lot of different things. So that the tree itself was used. So you can do a lot of different things. And even with a gruesome style of wrestling, it can still be considered comedy. You can still do different things with it. And I think to say that it is not a specific subset of professional wrestling in and of itself is not fair. And I think that is deathmatch wrestling, should it be considered wrestling? Yes, I absolutely think so.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is going to be one of the times that we have to agree. It's its own thing. It's a niche. Do I agree with it as far as, should we have it today? I don't necessarily think so. I think it's had its place. There's a lot of stuff going on today with wrestling, with, the impact testing for concussions. You got, the testing, blood tests and everything else.
Okay, fair.
I mean, look at Nigel McGuinness.
No, that's true.
Perfect example.
I get it. And the safety of the wrestlers is paramount, but that's like saying you shouldn't be able to skateboard.
But you know what? As long as these organizations take responsibility, get these guys tested, make sure they're fine and healthy, have a ball. Go ahead, have a ball. Because you know what? People want to see it. They want to do it. It's a free country.
Yeah,
as far as I know,
it's still a
free.
There's people willing to do it.
As far as I know, it's still a free country until
For another few months,
until Trump takes over, and
Yeah.
then he gets into the death matches himself and books himself as the winner. God damn it! I thought I let that go. Anyway, so.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. That's going to wrap it up for us. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to check out all of our other shows at our YouTube channel. On Mondays, we have Time Warp. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have Change the Questions.
Change the Questions.
On Wednesdays, we have Booking a Better Wrestler.
Booking a Better Wrestler.
Fridays, we have Let's Play TEW.
Let's play TEW.
What was that, Minor? All right. Also, be sure to check out our website, changetheqs.com.
Changetheqs.com.
Changingtheqs.com. Where you will get where you can get links to all of our audio and video shows, as well as articles that you can't get anywhere else.
Pretty soon, we're actually going to have some contributors, Chaps Van Buren and Vance Pomeroy III. Look out for those guys.
And
very, very interesting guys.
Also, be sure to check us out on Twitter at ChangeTheQ. Same thing at ChangeTheQS. You can also be sure to search us on Facebook at or just search Change the Questions. If you want to send us a good old fashioned email, do so. ChangeTheQuestions@gmail.com. That's going to do it for us from partner Mike Miner.
Ugh.
My name is Paul Laporte. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.
Bye.